The only reason that Danzo never became the Hokage of Konoha is because of the Hyugas, for like a multitude of reasons, and we're gonna get into every single one of them right now. But before I get into any of those reasons, guys, there's something I really want to tell everybody. Some huge news for the page. We got our silver play button. Look at that. Look at that. That's you. Well, I guess it's technically still me, but you get it. This is honestly such a massive accomplishment, guys. I'm so thankful to everyone who helped me get here. Obviously, I couldn't have done it without you guys. And if you haven't already subscribed and we want to get to gold, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. Also, guys, so recently I posted a video that some of you saw. It didn't do quite as well as my usual videos, but I posted a video of me and my best friend having our girlfriends wax our butts. And while this video didn't perform as well as, let's say, a Naruto theory video, that makes sense. This is an anime page, but I am also a fun, happy content creator, and I want to make more vloggy content. But here's the thing. I understand that people come to this page for a certain thing, and that certain thing is anime knowledge. So instead of posting that on my main page, I'm actually going to be making vlog content close to twice a month and make it members only access. On top of that vlog content, I hope to make Let's Play series, like Let's Play Dark Souls 2 or something like that, and then post that as a members only access video as well. In my ideal circumstance, this will result in at least one extra video a week for members. So if you enjoyed the video of me in pain, or you want to see me dye my hair pink for a Sakura cosplay, or other things like that, please guys, go ahead and join the Weeb Alliance. Now on to our regularly scheduled content. So how did the Hyugas, people who have never even been Hokage, make sure that Danzo, the worst person in the history of Naruto, didn't become Hokage? Well, there's really two ways. Before we get into those two ways, let's talk about how easy it should have been for Danzo to become the Hokage. Danzo has essentially been Hiruzen Shadow Hokage both of their entire lives. He's the leader of the Root and therefore basically the leader of the Anbu. This is because the Root comprised the majority of the members of the Anbu during Hiruzen and Danzo's lifetime. On top of the fact that he had control over the village's strongest and deadliest assassins, he also had the backing of the village elders. You know, Homura and Koharu, the two other worst people in Naruto history. For years, they had been agreeing with Danzo's ideology of using an iron fist to make Konoha as strong as possible at the cost of the lives of anybody who gets in the way. These are the same people that wanted to keep Naruto away from Konoha while Pain was attacking. You know, they make all the wrong decisions. But just because they make all the wrong decisions doesn't mean they don't have power. They are essentially the council that's above the Hokage. They inform his decisions and also have the power to revoke them. So not only does Danzo have basically a standing army, he also has the backing of some of the most important people in the village. But since we're talking about power, let's talk about the most powerful clan in Konoha. The Hyugas are one of the four noble clans of Konoha. And of those four, that being the Hyugas, the Akamichi, the Aburame, and the Uchiha, they're probably the noblest. Hayashi, or whoever the current head of the Hyuga clan, holds close to as much power as the Hokage. Because, much like Danzo, they stand over an operating army sitting within the very walls of Konoha. I mean, the Hyugas comprise the majority of Konoha's military force. But because the Hyugas are the mightiest clan and the noblest clan, they often stood in opposition of Danzo's ideology. This is why there was very few, if any at all, members of the Hyuga clan in the Root. We know for a fact there was Hyuga clans in the Anbu, but we don't know if they were a part of the Root. So, more realistically, the Hyugas had a lot to gain from not allowing Danzo to become the Hokage. But how did they achieve this end? Well, like a lot of other things, like how they should have seen the Uchiha massacre was happening, it was by the use of their Byakugan. Danzo is a well-informed person, and he is tapped into all lines of information possible, especially when it comes to dojutsu. This man is a Pokemon master of collecting dojutsu, which is why he had the Koto Matsukame from Shisui. A Koto Matsukame, hypothetically, he could have used on, let's say, the leader of the Hyuga clan, like Hayashi, in order to sway him to vote him up as the Hokage. I mean, he could have used the Koto Matsukame on many people because he only needed to wait 3 days for the cooldown as opposed to 10 years like Shisui did. This is because he had Hashirama cells. So now we have a man with a standing army, the backing of some of the most important people, and a dojutsu that he can use once every 3 days to sway the top brass of Konoha to vote for him as Hokage. I mean, hell, Danzo already used it on Mifune to make him the leader of the allied unified shinobi forces. So how does this man not become the Hokage? Once again, it was the Byakugan, and Danzo knew that the Byakugan was counter to his plan. This is because Danzo knew that Ao, the Mizokage's assistant, had a Byakugan in his face that he hypothetically stole from a notorious and infamous rogue ninja who fled from the main clan of the Hyugas. You guys can check that video out right here. And he knew that Ao used that Byakugan to see that Yagura, the fourth Mizokage, was under a genjutsu cast by Obito. A genjutsu very similar to Koto Matsukame. In fact, a genjutsu so similar to Koto Matsukame that Mai, the fifth Mizokage, said that Obito and Shisui's genjutsus must have been related because of how similarly they worked. So Danzo most likely has knowledge that if he uses Koto Matsukame on somebody important and literally anyone from the Hyuga clan sees them, they'll be able to see that their chakra network has been disrupted by genjutsu. This is truly Koto Matsukame's one weakness. But here's the thing that doesn't sit correct with me. Let's say hypothetically he does use Koto Matsukame on somebody like Tsunade. Instead of Tsunade accepting the role, Tsunade says essentially, I think Danzo is the best person for the job. I think he should be the next Hokage. And while most people would be like, that's weird, I don't necessarily think the Hyugas would activate their Byakugans and start staring at her looking for chakra problems. Also, let's say hypothetically they do find out that Tsunade is under genjutsu because her chakra network is disrupted. How are they gonna tie that back to Danzo? Nobody outside of Itachi, Shisui, Danzo, and Obito know he has the Koto Matsukame in his eye. Hell, the average person doesn't know he's covered in like 17 Sharingan. So how would whoever Hyuga member identifies this disrupted chakra network of Tsunade identify that it was Danzo who cast this genjutsu? More likely than not, they would think it was some enemy village or a remnant of the Uchiha clan. I mean, reference what Ao had found. He identified that it was Obito. So more likely than not, the blame would fall onto Obito. Madara. They all thought it was Madara at the time. But here's the thing. That goes to show you the power that the Hyugas carry in the leaf. Danzo, every 3 days, could be rewriting the personality of a person in the leaf. He could have made his way down the line of all the who's who's in Naruto. He could have walked into the hidden cloud and made the Raikage his subordinate, and then came back 3 days later and got Killer B. And I know what you're saying, well, what if he overuses his MS and he goes blind? That's where Hashirama's cells come in. It purposely and eternally heals his eye just like it did with Obito. But he couldn't do that. But the second that somebody realizes that that person's chakra network has been disrupted, they can release them from a genjutsu as powerful as Koto Matsukame. And even if they couldn't trace it back to Danzo, the fact that they might, just might be able to one day was enough to stop him in his tracks. You see, this is the true power of the Hyuga clan, a respected nobility class that also comes with a massive power, a power that actually works the exact opposite, in contrary to the Sharingan's abilities. One can cast genjutsu and one can identify it. So Danzo, a man who is known widely as the biggest villain in the history of Naruto, was subdued silently and not even on purpose by simply the presence of the Hyuga clan, a clan he couldn't penetrate because he couldn't get his hooks into any of the members. Danzo feeds on darkness, he feeds on guilt, he feeds on the helpless. But ironically, there's no helpless people in the Hyuga clan. I know the side and main branch families may make it seem like it's a dystopian, distraught family, but it's not. They're very well put together, they're very well led. There was no dangling fruit in the Hyuga for Danzo to pluck, so he couldn't go around using his favorite toy, the Koto Matsukame. In fact, the only ever time he really tried was when he was at the Five Kage summit and he used it on Mifune and he got caught by Ao. This solidified in his head that the Byakugan was his biggest enemy. Even if it may have not been able to get tracked back to him immediately, the sheer presence of the fact that there was people out there who could undermine his ability to wipe the minds or completely change the minds of the most powerful people in his village was enough to stop Danzo in his tracks. Tie that in with the fact that the Hyugas were vehemently opposed to Danzo's way of ruling and had a standing army of their own, and you have the best counter to Danzo's ideologies and plans of all time. So make sure you say thank you to your local Hyuga, because without them, we would have had Danzo as the 5th Hokage. And before you go, oh, he would have been better than Tsunade. This is the man who leaked to the entire village that Naruto was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki so that everybody in the village would have something to team up together in hating on. He looked at an infant and said, you're going to be our rallying point. He also killed Shisui and plucked his eye out of his face. He also, on his deathbed, plucked his Koto Matsukame out of his face and crushed it so Obito wouldn't get his hands on it. While he is the petty king, he will not be the king of Konoha. And that's it. Shorter theory video today, but I hope it was still as informative as usual. Per usual, thanks for sticking around. I appreciate you being here. And please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell, baby. I'm not saying that the Hyugas were both responsible for the Uchiha massacre and making sure Danzo wasn't the Hokage, but signs are starting to point in those directions.